Welcome to In Between the Lines, where two buddies sit down, maybe crack a cold one, and talk sports the way you would at your favorite bar. No filters, no frills, just raw, uncut opinions. Now, I'm Jake,
So,
and this here is Jeff, and whether it's football, basketball, or whatever else is making headlines, we've got you covered. We're repping the heart and soul of the Midwest, focusing on Detroit and Chicago major professional teams. And of course, we can't forget about the Michigan Wolverines. So if you're a fan of the Lions' constant heartbreaks, the Bulls' next big comeback, or the Wolverines dominating on Saturdays, you're in the right place. So grab a drink, pull up a chair, and join us as we dive in between the lines. Jeff, hey, we're finally doing it.
hey, yeah, I'm excited, man. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
We have busy schedules and things like that, but I'm glad and super stoked, as you say, that this thing has finally came together.
Oh yeah, it's for sure. I know when we first started talking about this over a year ago, we both had a vision and an idea of what we wanted to do, and I think we both wanted to do it. But sometimes, life gets in the way. But they say sometimes the hardest step is that first step, and I'm glad we're finally here. But man, your room looks great.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
Oh man, I'm super
Yeah,
jealous.
yeah, yeah. I'm showing you how big of a fan I am, and
Yeah,
everybody else out there, you can see who I represent.
Yeah, I told you when we first started this thing, I have a cool backdrop, maybe have some sports teams on it, and then you
Yeah,
got it all decked out, and I look like the poor child over here. I don't have anything but a bookcase, so you're gonna make me step up my game for sure. Um,
that sounds
Obviously,
like
I
Detroit
can tell by
sports.
oh yeah, I can tell by looking at your background, and I know you obviously, but why don't you go ahead and tell us who your teams are, what kind of sports you're into?
Well, football is number one for me. It always has been. Growing up as a child, I always watched the games with my grandfather when we was living in Chicago. So that's where it started. And then the Bulls, Michael Jordan. I mean, what more can you say? Uh, and the Sox, Cubs. Again, my grandparents took me to ball games when I was coming up. Uncles. So I got a lot of fans in my family, sports fans, I should say. So I grew up watching sports, man. So football is number one in that order. Football, basketball, baseball, hockey. I really don't follow hockey as much, but they got championships, man.
Yeah.
And the Blackhawks got like one of the coolest logos and jerseys to me in the league. So yeah, I keep up. I don't watch, but I keep up.
Awesome. Now, obviously, I'm a Lions fan. You can see that by my hat. But yeah, I like all teams. Detroit, I Detroit Tigers, Detroit Lions, Detroit Pistons. I'm staying with you. I don't really pay attention to a whole lot to hockey. When the Red Wings are doing good, I'll watch them in the playoffs. The same thing. They've got championships.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a hockey fan, but I do pay attention to it. But I like golf. I like MMA. I like boxing. I like all that stuff. But yeah, my passion is definitely football and basketball. Um, and then, like I said earlier, big Michigan Wolverines fans. I know you're a Wolverines fan as well, right?
Yeah, so that's one team that we do have in common. Yeah, the Wolverines, man. I mean, I fell in love with the Wolverines. Charles Woodson.
Oh, okay.
That's what really did it for me. I'm still a Charles Woodson fan. If he suited up today, I'm gonna watch him. So yeah, when they won that Rose Bowl, I mean, even Tyrone Wheatley, Anthony Carter. I mean, the Wolverines got stars, as you know. So in Chicago, Illinois, I mean, we not really known for any college football. You know,
Yeah.
the the Fighting Illini, they may be good every 10 years or so. You get one good season, and then boom, they disappear.
Right.
But they working on something down there in Champaign. We're gonna see what they come up with. But until then, it's Wolverines all the way for me.
I love it. I love it. Now, this was the first week of college football, if you don't count week zero. But Did you get a
Right.
chance to watch any games this weekend?
Well, I got a chance to watch Michigan. They look pretty good. I'm interested to see what Coach Moore is going to do. But watching that game, it looked like they came away from the run. They didn't stick to the run like they did when Harbaugh was there. So I think they really should go back to that. That's their identity. And I think if they stick with that, with that pedigree, they could still be pretty dangerous.
Now, I had a couple of concerns, even leading into the week. I think it was a day before the game. Somebody at work who usually gives me pretty good, reliable information on the Wolverines had told me that he had heard that the Davis Warren kid had won the starting job. So that kind of concerned me, just
Right.
because I mean all the talk was Alex Orji was next up, but I hadn't really heard much about him in camp other than he's doing all right. Which Michigan football, I don't want to hear he's doing all right. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Um, but so I'd heard that rumor, so I didn't know if that was a good thing or not. And then when I saw that it on the day of that is what happened. Um, I mean, they were trying to compare him to J.J. McCarthy a little bit, which I thought was a little silly. Good
Mm-hmm.
story, but I left watching that game with the same opinion after the first game last year. I went to that first game last year against East Carolina, and I knew all the studs that they had, and they did not look
Right.
good against East Carolina. They couldn't run the ball. It just, even though they won that one against East Carolina by like 30-3, I left feeling like, oh God,
Right.
I'm a little worried, and I sensed some of that as I was watching this game, and I had a couple thoughts on that. One, they are replacing 10 starters.
Yeah.
Two, um, they play Texas next week, so I think some of it might have been scheme. I think maybe they thought that we can out athlete Fresno State and beat them without showing anything, and we don't want to show Texas anything. I'm hoping that's the case, because if
That's
not,
fair.
yeah, if that's not the case, then this next week against Texas could be a bad game, because Texas looked good. I don't know if you got a chance to see them or not.
No, I didn't. I like I said, I had to work this weekend, so I tried to watch what I could. But did anything stand out to you this week outside of Michigan?
A couple things. There wasn't a whole lot of competitive games. I watched the Georgia Clemson game, and that was a blowout. I watched Texas blowout. Ohio State was a blowout. The When the Michigan game was going on, I was watching Oregon, which post game with Idaho, that was kind of
Right.
shocking. The Notre Dame Texas A&M game was a good game, but that's
Yeah,
about
for
what I
sure.
expected to happen. The two that really surprised me was one, Florida State. Holy cow! I mean, what did you think of that?
I mean, talk about laying an egg. they, they laid a turkey egg. That was, and all of that complaining and whining they did last year, saying we should have been in the playoff, and here they are. They had it laid out in front of them, man, and they just dropped the ball. I cannot believe what they did this weekend, man. That was an embarrassment.
Well, I was already
Even
blown
though,
away that they lost the week before at Georgia Tech. But I
right,
think what
so,
was even more shocking to me was that they were still rated in the top 10 after that game. But
yeah,
Boston College embarrassed them.
yeah. Everybody thought they was going to bounce back, and just destroy Boston College, but it was the other way around. That was sickening. I'm glad I'm not a Florida State fan.
It's funny because my dad was a Florida State fan when I was growing up, because we were originally from Florida. So I never liked them, but I'd always paid attention to them. So I still follow them, but I'm not a fan.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. I'm glad I'm not a Florida State fan right now, because
Yeah.
you got to think that their chances of the playoffs are done, right?
Oh, for sure. Even with the extended, teams, it's done. If they would have to win out number one, and I'm not even sure who's on their schedule. I don't know if it's anybody worthy on their schedule to get them in the playoff. I would have to take a look at that, but yeah, I think their season is pretty much done. They just better, happy that they can make a bowl game at this point.
Yeah, I hear that. Another one that I watched that kind of surprised me was USC and LSU played on Sunday night, and it was two ranked teams. I think LSU was 13 and USC was in the 20s. But I wanted to pay attention to it, one, because it's two ranked teams. I always like watching two ranked teams.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
but USC was in the Big Ten, and I think it's Michigan's fourth or fifth opponent. So I wanted to kind of to see what was going on there, and then I heard all these rumors that USC was overrated and that LSU was gonna just walk all over them. And I don't know if you got a chance to watch that game, but that was the best game of the weekend. I mean, it was a back
Yeah,
and forth game. USC won at the end, but they look for real.
yeah. I seen Brian Kelly throw his little tantrum.
Yeah.
Um, Watching coaches throw tantrums, boy, that's exciting. I look forward to that.
Well, I look forward to Brian Kelly throwing a tantrum because I can't stand that dude. So yeah,
Yeah, he think he the next thing since So hey, welcome to the SEC.
yeah, exactly. Welcome to the SEC. Play a Big Ten team and get beat. So yeah,
That's right.
and they're going to have a tough schedule. LSU's going to have a tough schedule. I mean, they it would seem like they're going to have to win out if they have any chance, and that's going to be hard with that type of schedule.
Yeah. So that's it's going to be interesting, at the end of the year, come playoff time,
Right.
because there's not a clear cut favorite anymore. I mean, it's going to be some outright upsets, I believe. It's just not going to be the Alabamas and Georgias, and you know, they're going to match up with some teams that's going to give them some hell. So I'm looking forward to that. Who is your favorite? Who do you have winning it all?
Oh, I don't. I mean, I don't. I don't have anybody winning it
You
all yet.
don't.
I always think it's way too early to tell at this time. I mean, these first couple of games, you see like some of those big schools play, like
Hmm.
the Chattanooga College of the Blind.
Right.
They're not playing real teams. I mean,
Okay. So you
you
don't
do
have a
get.
favorite yet.
I mean, I'm always going to root for Michigan. Do I think they're the favorite to win it? No. I mean, I'm worried they're going to lose to Texas this week, and then they still have Oregon, Ohio State. Um, yeah, they're USC. I mean, they're tough. I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Georgia looked good against Clemson, and Clemson is who knows? Clemson might be overrated. So it's always hard to say. The transfer portal really changes things up because all these new players going to these big schools. That it's I hate it. I hate the transfer portal. To
Yeah,
be
I
honest
do
with you,
too. Yeah.
but I still enjoy watching college football though, so it's going to be. I love the concept of the playoff though. I'm super happy they expanded it. I'm sure when it comes around, there's still going to be a couple teams that are still saying they got screwed over and they should have been in it.
Oh
But
yeah.
we're not. You're not going to get that undefeated or one loss team that's going to get screwed over like Florida State got screwed over last year.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it. Really excited about it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited too, man. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'll be tuned in to Michigan for sure. Playing Texas. Man, is that the game of the week?
It is. That's where game day is going to be. Uh,
Okay.
I'm actually heading up there. We're gonna. I don't know that we're actually going to go into the stadium, but we're definitely going to tailgate up there. And worst case scenario, watch it from the golf course on the TV. But
Oh.
I imagine the atmosphere is going to be fantastic.
Has Texas ever came to Michigan? Do you know?
Not that I can recall. I mean, in the long history of it, maybe. But I'd have to look that up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. I mean, that's going to be exciting in itself.
Yeah, I
I would
remember when they
like to
announced
see.
it.
Yeah. I would like to see one of those Southern teams come up north in the winter.
Oh
That's
yeah,
I would really like to see
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
You know,
see them in November, and there's some snow on the ground. See how
yeah,
Texas or Alabama handles that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Give them some real football weather.
yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Speaking of some real football weather, what games in the NFL are you excited about this week?
Well, we got to go right there first.
If you didn't say that, I was going to be disappointed with you.
I am really looking forward to seeing what Caleb can do. I'm trying not to get too excited because I was on cloud nine when the Bears drafted Justin Fields.
Hmm.
I thought, this was the start of something, and it was a show,
Yeah,
a straight up doo doo show. So I was, I said never again. I got excited with Cutler. I got excited with Fields.
what about Trubisky?
Absolutely not. I wasn't excited about that. Was one of the worst picks in NFL history.
Did they trade up to get him too, or no? I don't remember.
Yeah, they traded up from 3 to 2,
Oh,
I think, to get this guy, and I'm like, man, and when they did the trade, I'm sitting there like, wow, we about to get Deshaun Watson. I just knew that's where they was going, and they
yeah.
named a kid I'd never even heard of, and I was speechless. I couldn't yell, I couldn't curse, I couldn't
What?
stomp my feet or nothing. I was just in a trance. I was like, man, who is this kid? And he ended up having one great season. He
Yeah,
did have a
yeah,
good
he did.
season, and we lost that playoff game from the double doink or whatever you want to call it, field goal. But
Now,
I think I'm gonna go on record and say I think they got this pick right. I think Caleb is going to be a star. I just don't want to get my hopes up too soon. I want to see what he does against Green Bay, down 10 with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. That's what I want to see.
now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't like Caleb Williams at all. I mean, I don't. Not that I don't think he's talented. I think he's talented, but I think he's overrated. I mean, I don't think he's as talented as they think he is, and I think he's such a diva. I can't stand it. Can't stand it.
Now, I don't like that. I don't like the painted nails. I don't like the diva deal. But our general manager Ryan Poles, he's pretty responsible for a lot of those players that Kansas City has. I mean,
Yeah.
he is the one that scouted Pat Mahomes, and so I got to give this guy a chance, man. I mean, just in the this is his third season, and the turnaround he's done since he's been there. Getting rid of those bad contracts, he's been drafting pretty well. But this is the big one. Let's see what Caleb Williams does.
Now, have you watched any of the Hard Knocks with the Chicago Bears?
I did. I haven't finished watching it yet. Just due to my work schedule. But the first episode that I watched, it was pretty exciting. Just getting in the locker room and seeing how they do things, and it was pretty cool for them to call DJ Moore up and get him extended on his contract. But as big as a fan I am, and I was always wanted us to do the Hard Knocks. This season here is just like I just want to see the product on the field.
I hear you. No,
I
when I watched the Lions Hard Knock, I had some of those same feelings where it was like so excited, so excited. Let's just go out in the field and watch it happen. What I was going to
Right.
ask you though is, so when I watched the Lions Hard Knock, which I loved, but I was already a fan of Dan Campbell. I was already a fan of Aiden Hutchinson, and the show just made me love both of those guys even more. But that show
Hmm.
also made me like players like Jamal Williams and Rodriguez and things like that. So, and you watching the Bears, already knowing who some of those players are, was there anybody that stood out that you maybe didn't know as much about that you just really became a fan of by watching the show?
Oh, that's a tough one. Uh,
Now you can think about it for a second while I tell you my thoughts. now,
okay.
now, like I said, I already didn't like Caleb Williams. Now I will say that there's nothing on the show that made me dislike him more. I mean, so like I said, there was nothing that he did that was bad that like made me say, oh, I knew I hated that guy. So, in fairness to that, um, but the two people that stood out to me was one. What is the GM's name? Poles.
Yeah, Ryan Poles.
I like him. I liked Poles a lot.
Okay.
Like you just said, the whole bringing him up to see the or talk to DJ Moore. I thought that was cool, but
Right.
how he handles everything, I like him. I mean, like I said, if he was, I love the Lions GM too, but if he was the Lions GM, I would be happy with somebody like him. I also love that punter. Have you seen that punter?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
The
I'm glad you
Australian
brought
dude.
him up.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
love him.
yeah. I was, when they drafted him, I'm like, man, we really drafted a punter. I
In
think
like the
what
fourth
is
round, right?
fourth round. I'm like, oh my god, that kind of ticked me off a little bit. But when I seen how good he was, I'm like, man, it's what you don't really see punters on a draft board.
He's a stud. He's a stud.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's going to be a weapon, and you don't really say that about punters. But I liked his personality too. I thought it was funny when they said that they wanted to call him the crocodile punter, uh, and he was like, "Please don't."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I did take a liking to him, the punter, on the show. I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah, I think he gonna be a rock star for sure.
I like Roma Duzne too, the rookie from Washington.
Yeah,
I
I thought
liked
that
him.
was a good pickup.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, so we got him and a quarterback and a receiver in the first round. I thought that was huge. The defense is stout. I still think we need a one monster. As good as the defense played last year, I don't feel like that we have someone that puts a fear in other offenses.
Yeah,
That's I'm looking for that guy, that dog. I know Montez Sweat was a good addition last year when we got him, and that's when the defense really took off. But we don't have, in my opinion, that Urlacher or that Briggs or
yeah,
somebody like that. A defense, Julius Peppers. I remember when we got him.
right.
They had the game plan for those guys. So, but the secondary is solid. But in football, man, I don't care if you don't have a front line, defensive line, the secondary is not going to look that great.
Yeah, you got to put
You
pressure
could,
on the quarterback. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I don't care if you got Charles Woodson, Deion Sanders, Ronnie Lott. You can have an all-star secondary, but if you're not getting no push up front, they're gonna look average. So, but we'll see. I'm excited. I'm not going. I'm excited, but I'm not excited enough to talk trash to, a Detroit Lions fan yet, just yet.
I hear you. I mean, I admit, if Caleb Williams is good, they've got some weapons around him. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
yeah, the three receivers they got are studs. The Cole Kmet's a good tight end. I mean, I guess not. I don't hate DeAndre Swift. I mean, he was with the Lions, and I liked him on the Lions. He's injury prone.
He is.
He's not reliable. I don't know. Do they have another running back?
We got a guy named Khalil Herbert, and we got a young guy, Roshan Johnson. That's pretty good. I hope he gets some playing time. But like you say, DeAndre Swift is. I'm hoping we can get a solid 10 games out of him.
Yeah,
But
that's
if
asking a
it,
lot.
right, so yeah, but when he's healthy, I mean, he's just as good as anybody.
Yeah, he's a weapon for sure.
Yeah,
He's a weapon for sure. Like I said, I liked him, but he just could never stay healthy. Like I said, I remember
for
being
sure.
disappointed when he left because it was like I felt like he had had his best season that year that he left. And yeah, it was just like, oh no, that's no big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
we picked up good people since then. Now I know you said you got to work this weekend. Are you going to be able to watch them play Tennessee?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be locked and cocked, ready to go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So what? So what's up with the Lions? I mean, what's how are you feeling about them this season?
I don't know that I like them being favorites. I'm so not used to that, and so I feel like we kind of have that target on our back, and so I'm not super excited about that. But I mean, they're a good team. I mean, I think they're well coached. They do have threats. The wide receiver depth has me a little concerned. Um, they didn't keep many receivers either. But the running backs are solid. I think Jameer Gibbs, if he takes another step
Oh
up, I think he
yeah.
has the potential to be
Yeah.
one of the biggest offensive threats in football. Um, so we'll see. I mean, our first game against the Rams, that's a tough matchup. I mean,
Oh, going up against Matthew Stafford.
I know, right? It's made for TV type stuff. I'm still a Matthew Stafford fan. I mean, I like Matthew Stafford, but I mean,
Yeah.
I hope we stomp him.
Right.
I'll root for him against everybody else, but that's a tough first matchup. It's Sunday night, so the lights will be on there. But I think they like that kind of thing. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see. I mean, NFL, there's so many games that are all within a score. I mean, a team can. I mean, I remember when we didn't win a game that year, 0-16. I mean, I want to say we lost 7 or 8 games by less than a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it just one play here or there can change NFL things all the time. So, but I'm excited. I'm excited. I really thought they were going to beat San Francisco last year in the NFC Championship game and go and play Kansas City, and I thought we could beat Kansas City. But I've been a Lions fan too long to not know that they disappoint too.
If there was any one a time that I rooted for the Detroit Lions, it was when y'all was 0-15. I said, man, now come on, man. I said, I know I'm not a Lions fan, but come on, y'all got to pull this one out.
It was rough.
Yeah, that
It was
was,
rough watching games just so we could say, please don't be the only team that's never won a game.
yeah, that
That's
was,
tough
yeah.
on a fan.
You don't want to see that,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
tough on a fan.
Yeah, and y'all went 4-0 in the preseason that year. I
Yep.
don't know if you remember that,
I
but
do remember that because I tell people all the time because you know who went 0-4 that year? The Patriots,
who?
and they won the Super Bowl.
Oh man,
So it's like preseason
wow.
doesn't matter. So stop talking about these preseason records. Oh, yeah, it was
Oh
rough. It was rough
shoot,
for sure.
Rob
Oh,
Marinelli.
oh God, I hate that guy. Hate that guy.
You
Hate
know,
Matt Patricia too.
some coaches are just coordinators. You
Yeah.
know, everybody want the head coaching job. You know, it's like, you know, sometimes this coach has to focus on this one area, and that's okay. You know, it's okay. You
Mhm.
know, everybody want to chase that bag, but man,
Absolutely.
defensive coordinators, man, you see it time and time again. You know, they want to get these head coaching jobs, and it just doesn't work out for them. You
Yeah.
know, in my opinion, the Bears probably had the best defensive coordinator of all time in Buddy Ryan.
Yeah.
You know, him and Dicker couldn't get along. He left and went to Philly, put together they had a squad. You know,
Yeah.
he had Reggie White and those guys,
Yeah.
man. Seth
Absolutely.
Joyner. I mean, Chris Carter. Before he went to Minnesota. I mean, Randall Cunningham, and they just couldn't. They couldn't put it together. And then he left and went to Tennessee, and had a monster defense down there. And
Well, hey, I'm going to put you on the spot. How many wins do the Bears get this year? And do they make the playoffs?
you gonna make me show the little excitement I do have, huh?
But every year I always say a number that's way higher than the Lions win. So don't feel bad.
I'm going for 10 games.
Okay. And do
I
they make
think
the playoffs with 10 wins?
That's tough. I think it's possible. But I mean, Detroit and Green Bay. So that means that three teams that have to make it from our division.
Yeah.
I really believe that I think Green Bay and Detroit is going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
So the Bears will have to squeeze in there by, you got Atlanta, you got Philly, you got Tampa, you got San Francisco. What is it? 6 teams? It's 7 teams now that gets in. So
Yeah, I think it's 7. One team gets a bye. Yeah, it's 7.
it's gonna be tough, man. It's really gonna be tough. But back to the Lions, I don't think that Jared Goff is going to duplicate what he did last season. I don't know if he's going to do that again, man.
He did have one of his career years. Yeah, I can see that. I hope so. I like Jared Goff. I think I was looking at the schedule. I've got the Lions winning 12 games this year. I do have them making the playoffs. I
But
actually
did you?
for the Bears, I had 10 wins for the Bears as well, but I have them not making the playoffs.
Okay.
So
Hey,
it's recorded.
I'll be cool with that.
Yeah,
I'll be cool with that. What did we win? 7 games last season,
yeah, something like
and
that.
I think with the weapons that they added, and if Caleb Williams can just be, I'm not even saying a Pro Bowler or a superstar. If he can just be good,
If he can be half as good as they say he's going to be, they'll be all right.
yeah,
They'll be all right. We'll see.
yeah.
Like I said, I've heard some people suggest that Green Bay is a little overrated too, but I'm going to be one of the first ones to say that I thought Jordan Love was a bum, and he totally was not a bum. He looked good.
Yeah, but I mean, he looked good. What, the last 6 or 7 games of the season?
Yeah,
Before that, he was just average, and I still don't think that was enough to give him that huge contract that Green Bay gave him. Because of one season, a half a season of.
yeah, that's true. And some people actually start playing worse once they get that big contract. Either they don't have anything to play for either. So I guess we'll
Yeah,
see. I mean, I would love to see Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers fail miserably. I hate them.
yeah. I don't think I hate any team in sports. In sports, more than the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I mean, I really literally get sick to my stomach whenever I see somebody walking around with a Packer jersey or a sweatshirt or something. I'm just like, man, and the Packer fans, they beat up on the Bears, but that's the only team that they beat up on like that. They don't beat you guys like that. They
Well, they
don't
don't
beat
care.
Minnesota like that.
They don't care about us because we've never been good.
But man, I mean, at half the time when they get in the playoffs, it's because they beat the Bears. I mean, even when Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl, they played the Bears in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
It's just they always beat the. If you take those 2 wins away, half the time they won't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
One,
Yeah.
I was happy when y'all knocked them out of the playoff. Eliminated them from getting to the playoff.
2 years ago.
When
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers last year there.
Yeah.
That was. I guess it is 2 times I rooted for the Lions. That's 2 games right there, but that one was sweet.
Yeah. I can remember because it was one of those. Because before the game started, the Lions had already learned that it didn't matter what they did; they couldn't make the playoffs because Seattle won. So I thought that maybe they'd come in there not really ready to play, and Green Bay was going to come ready to play. And that's kind of when I knew that Dan Campbell's got these guys in a whole different culture than he's ever had them before because they came out there and dominated. So
So I'm a fan of your coach. I'm not a fan of our coach. Not yet.
no,
No.
I didn't dislike him from watching the Hard Knocks, but I don't. There's nothing about him that I liked, but I didn't dislike him.
No, no.
I don't
I
even know
would
how to say
like
his name. Is it Eberfuss?
Eberflus.
Eberflus. Okay.
Eberflus. Yeah, it took me a minute. When we hired him, I was pretty pissed off.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because didn't they have him before, or no?
No, no, no. We never had him.
Okay.
But he came from, I guess he's from that Tony Dungy tree.
Oh,
He
okay.
runs the cover too.
Gotcha.
So Love, of course, Lovey Smith ran that when he was in Chicago. So it's the same type of scheme, but he's just it don't seem like he got that fire, that rally up the guys, man.
Right.
Like Dan Campbell.
I gotcha.
They take on his personality.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So
I gotcha. Well, hey, I'm going to put you on the spot again. Who are your top five running backs of all time?
okay, like I said, man, it just depends on the day. The day you ask me, because that fluctuates.
It fluctuates. Okay.
Well,
What is it
I'm about
today?
to. Well, there's three that never changes.
Okay.
Okay, that's Jim Brown, Walter Payton, rest in peace, Barry Sanders. Those
In,
three will never
in that order.
change. Well, I'm gonna be a little biased here. I'm gonna put Peyton one. I'm gonna put Barry two.
Okay.
I'm gonna put Jim Brown three because I mean, me or you is not old enough to have watched Jim Brown play, right?
Mhm.
So, but we hear the stories, we see the highlights. My uncle, my grandmother's brother, so he's up there. He's in his 70s, right? And he tells me he's a big, huge football guy. And he tells me, I've never seen a better player than Jim Brown. I mean, the emphasis that he puts on it. So I put him in there because of that alone. And I think he only played, what, 8 seasons
Yeah,
maybe?
it wasn't a lot. Have you ever heard that story where Barry Sanders' dad used to always tell him, "Doesn't matter how good you are, you'll never be as good as Jim Brown."
No, I didn't. No, I never heard that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. And I'm gonna put Gail in there.
Gail Sayers.
Gail Sayers.
Okay, I can respect that.
Number five. Whoo. Oh man. I think I'm gonna make some people mad with this one. OJ.
Okay. Okay. Wow. You're trying to get our show canceled right off the bat, huh?
Hey man, he was a hell of a running back.
He was a good running back. All right.
But
Go ahead.
go ahead. I want to hear your five.
All right. I'm going to go in reverse order, though. I'm going to start with five. Um,
Okay.
and my list is going to make somebody mad, too, but I'll explain why at the end. But number five, I'm going to go with Marshall Falk. One of the reasons he did everything. I think he's almost like the model of what the modern day running back is now. He was that first person that was catching the ball, running the ball, just kind of doing everything.
Right.
So I think he changed and revolutionized the running back position. So I'm going to go with Marshall Falk. Number four, I've got LaDainian Tomlinson. When LaDainian Tomlinson was playing, I thought he was that guy. I liked him a lot. He could do a little bit of everything. He kind of came a little bit after Marshall Falk, but he could catch, run. I even I think I looked something up that he actually threw 7 touchdown passes. I mean,
Yeah.
he could do it all too. So he was kind of dangerous. Um, Number 3, I got Emmitt Smith. I go back and forth with Emmitt Smith. I mean, he's got the records and the numbers, and I know the argument that I hear a lot is that he also had the offensive line and the All-Pro quarterback and All-Pro wide receivers. But I remember when I watched him play, he was enjoyable to watch. He was a tough little
He
guy.
was.
So I got to put him there just based off some of the stats alone. Even though as we continue on with this podcast, you'll see that stats don't necessarily mean everything. So I might contradict myself a little bit when I say that, but I did enjoy watching him play. Number 2, I've got Walter Payton. Walter Payton was my first favorite player.
Okay.
When I first started watching football, it was in the early to mid '80s. That he was my first favorite player. Sweetness. God, he was fun to watch, and he was tough,
Yeah.
and he was great. There was something about him that was just great. And then number 1, I've got Barry Sanders, and I mean, I said I don't know if it's the bias that I'm a Lions fan, but to be perfectly honest, when I first started watching football, I wasn't a Lions fan. It was kind of Barry Sanders had turned me into a Lions fan, and
Right.
I always think, God, what would he have done if he would have had Emmitt Smith's line? He was amazing. So that's my top 5. It stays pretty consistent like that. Now, like I said, I know the one that I'm going to say that is going to upset some people is that Jim Brown wasn't in there. And I don't know that I've ever seen a top 5 list where he's not in there.
Right.
But here's my reasoning for it. My preface to that is I don't like putting people in a top 5 when I've never seen them play. That's
Right.
that's just
I
that's
get
just
it.
kind of how I am. I mean, I see it nowadays with like Jordan and LeBron. I'm going to always be Team Jordan, but when you talk to some of these kids nowadays who've never seen Jordan play and they just want to rely on highlights,
Right.
there's something different when you actually get to watch the person play, not just
Yeah.
highlights, but you actually
Absolutely.
get to watch them play in game. So I'm not saying that Jim Brown isn't one of the best. I'm just in my top 5. I can't put him there simply because I never saw him play. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how
I
I'm
can
going to do all my
respect
top
that.
5s, but
Yeah.
that's my list. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's it's so many great running backs, man.
mhm.
I mean, it's Eric Dickerson and Tony Dorsett, Earl Campbell, Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson, yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on. But and I think both of us kind of did the same thing with our number 1, just a little bias there because of our teams. But if I didn't, I mean, if it was no Walter Payton, I would definitely have Barry Sanders number 1
Yeah. Well,
for sure.
it kind of fits our theme. We're representing the Detroit teams and Chicago teams. You're a Chicago guy, I'm a Detroit guy, so it only makes sense that that's who we put in there, right? But
Yeah,
they're both good choices. I mean, you can make an argument for either one without being
yeah.
biased. So, but
So I remember when Barry Sanders had his 2,000-yard season. He did that in 14 games.
mhm.
The first 2 games of the season, he had 53 yards.
Yeah,
Those first 2 games of the season. Game 3, Soldier Field. I think that guy got 200 yards on. I mean, he woke up when he came
yeah,
to Chicago,
yeah,
and he did not look back. And he ended up with 2,053 yards.
yeah,
I remember it like it was yesterday. I said, "My God."
yeah.
Oh, so that I mean, just watching that guy, it was just, and it was how he did it.
Yeah.
Because Detroit Lions, they didn't. I mean, same with the Bears too, but they didn't have a line. They
No, they were horrible.
knew
They were
Barry
horrible.
was getting the ball,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the moves, the juke moves that Barry had in his arsenal, man, I mean, it was unbelievable.
Most of his moves were made in the backfield. I mean, like I said, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So and Walter was more of a. I mean, he was sweetness. He had the moves too, but I think Barry's moves were. I hate to say it. His moves was better than sweetness. Sweetness took on the hits. You
yes.
know, he enjoyed the contact. You know,
He
Barry
would hit
not
you
so
first.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. So I think that was the major difference. And not saying I seen Barry take some licks. I'm not saying he couldn't take the licks, but
yeah,
I mean he was like a almost like a Muhammad Ali. You know, hit me if you can
right. Absolutely,
type of deal. You know,
absolutely.
so and he just I could talk all day about that guy, man. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
hey, I think we've covered everything that we planned on covering today. We're 45 minutes in, and so
Oh
we've covered
wow.
everything from college football showdowns this past weekend to Michigan's next test against Texas, and we dove into the NFL a little bit because what's a week without talking about the Bears or the Lions?
Right.
And we threw in our top five running backs because what's football without some friendly debate? And we're just getting started. We got a lot more to cover in the next couple weeks ahead. So if you like talking sports like we do, and make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, let us know your thoughts, and if you think you can argue your top five running backs better than us, bring it on. Hit us up on social media, drop us a line. We might even read some of the best ones on the air next time. Jeff, you got anything?
Yeah. No, you know what? Next week I want to cover top receivers.
Oh,
The
okay.
top five receivers.
All right. Well,
Well,
we'll talk about that. Well, I'll have to put some thought into it. So, well,
yeah.
I guess until next time, I guess keep your beer cold, your takes hot, and we'll see you back here for some more unfiltered sports that you can only get in between the lines. See you
All
later.
right. Go Bears. Go Blue.